What's up, everyone? Tyler Tachman here with the Des Moines Register. Just landed in California a few hours ago for the Acrisure Classic to watch Iowa play 2 games in 2 days, starting with Ole Miss on November 25th. Just wanted to get on here, kind of set the stage for what Iowa has going in California and then in kind of the next 5 games in totality. So first, Iowa and Ole Miss almost have, identical resumes. Each team 5-0. One of those wins have come against a higher profile opponent. For Iowa, that was against Xavier, who has struggled a little bit earlier in the season. They did just beat West Virginia, however, and then on the other side of things, Ole Miss beat Memphis. So 2 teams in the same neighborhood in Ken Palm. It feels sort of like a true kind of coin flip game, and a step up in competition for Iowa after really taking care of business in that Xavier game. We haven't seen a lot of growing pains from Iowa so far. It feels like maybe Ole Miss up to this point has the best chance of exposing that. But, the Rebels, led by Chris Beard in his 3rd season coaching Ole Miss, he took Texas Tech to the national championship game in 2019. He took Ole Miss in his 2nd season as head coach to the Sweet 16 last season. So this is the kind of first of what will be a variety of, I think, really intriguing coaching matchups that will be on Iowa's schedule this season, in part because Iowa has someone with a pretty accomplished resume in Ben McCollum. So I'm interested to see kind of some of these head coaching matchups that will unfold over the course of the season, and this is certainly one of them. One of the pleasant surprises of Iowa's season so far has been the offensive firepower. They're averaging better than 90 points per game. They're shooting 40% from 3. They're shooting 70% from 2-point range. It's not going to be easy to replicate that against Ole Miss, who they're allowing just 65 points per game. Opponents are shooting just 39.2% from the field and 29.5% from 3. Being careless with the ball and turning it over a lot would be a great way for Iowa to kill momentum. And on a similar note to that, how does Ole Miss go about trying to contain Bennett Sturts? Because he's been as advertised so far this season, but this is going to be much closer to the type of competition and defense that he's going to see once we get into the heart of Big Ten play. So are they going to blitz ball screens? Are they going to force him to get the ball out of his hands? Are they going to try to take away his passing ability and let him score? If Ole Miss really tries to take away Bennett Sturts' scoring ability, is Iowa's supporting cast going to be good enough to make them pay? And another thing is, how will Iowa deal with Ole Miss's size? They start Malik Dia at 6'9" and James Scott at 6'10". They've started each of their first 5 games this season. Not to mention, you have A.J. Storr on the wing, former Wisconsin Badger, and didn't know that we would ever come across him again, but he's a journeyman in college basketball, going from St. John's to Wisconsin to a forgettable season at Kansas and now to Ole Miss. So there's going to be size there for Ole Miss, and compare that to Iowa's starting front court in Cam Manio 6'9", Tavion Banks 6'7", Cooper Koch is 6'8", but he plays more on the wing. Iowa can bring height off the bench. Alvaro Fulgueras, who is Iowa's leading rebounder so far this season, is 6'10", and then you have Trevin Urach at 6'11", but he isn't quite as tested in these types of games. So can Iowa, how are they going to deal with Ole Miss's size? Each team has out-rebounded their opponents by about 6 rebounds per game so far this season. So if Iowa can at least hold their own on the boards, letting an Ole Miss team that shoots 37.8% from 3 this season get multiple chances on offensive rebounds is not an ideal recipe. And nor is, part of the reason Iowa's been so good offensively is, one, because of their 2-point efficiency. But James Scott, he's averaging blocking 2.2 blocks per game. Is Iowa going to be able to be as effective around the rim as they have been when you have some more capable shot blockers? And Iowa's gotten to the free throw line almost 30 times per game can they keep up that level of aggressiveness and assertiveness, getting to the rim, getting to the foul line against a team that's more equipped to slow them down. But I'm curious to see. We really haven't seen Iowa face major adversity yet this season. They breezed through basically their first 5 games at 200 minutes of total gameplay as a team. They've trailed for less than 7 of them. All their wins have come by at least 19 points. So Iowa, it's a credit to them for the way that they have started the season, but we really haven't seen this team get punched in the mouth yet. And if they're going to go where they want to this season, you have to respond in tough situations. You have to be able to win games ugly. You have to be able to make plays on the stretch. And we just really haven't seen Iowa in those types of situations yet this season. And Ole Miss has the chance to present that. If it's not Ole Miss, it's very likely to happen in this next 5-game stretch. So Iowa plays Ole Miss on November 25th, November 26th. As part of the Acrisure series will either be Grand Canyon or Utah. And then after that, Iowa, welcome to the Big Ten. You get thrown in the deep end at Michigan State. And then you come back home, get Maryland, another Big Ten opponent. And then you go on the road to Iowa State in a rivalry game in what will be a raucous Hilton Coliseum atmosphere. So you have 3 games against elite coaches, Tom Izzo, Chris Beard, and TJ Otzelberger. You have 2 in really difficult environments. So this is a stretch for Iowa that, I wouldn't call it murder's row necessarily, because it's not like you have Iowa playing in the Champions Classic, but for where Ben McCollum is, it's his first season as the head coach of the program. He's trying to build the foundation. This is a very difficult stretch in November and December. And now someone might disagree with me on this. I think a reasonable benchmark for that 5-game stretch is 2-3. I think splitting these games in California, that gives Iowa some leeway to either have a really good trip or a really bad trip. The Maryland game is going to be very winnable at home, and then the Michigan State and Iowa State games are going to be really difficult. I could see them outperforming that 2-3. This California trip is sweepable. If Iowa gets past Ole Miss, I think you feel pretty good about their chances against either Grand Canyon or Utah. Maybe Iowa can steal at least one on the road against Michigan State and Iowa State. That's not going to be easy. I think there isn't a big enough sample size at this point for us to say, hey, this is a game against Ole Miss that Iowa should certainly win, and this is that Iowa can definitely get 1 out of 2 on the road against Michigan State or Iowa State. It's possible that could happen. I just feel like we still are trying to kind of get a grasp of this team, and there isn't that trust factor yet to that we know for sure that can happen. So appreciate everyone for tuning in. Hopefully that was somewhat insightful, and I'll have coverage here in California the next few days, so stay locked in. And I appreciate hope everyone has a good Thanksgiving. It gets to spend some time with some family and friends, and hope you all take care of yourself.